Hello and welcome to the new Magic Seats video about collectibles. This particular edition is about my signed playing card collection. Previously, the videos were about the playing card decks that I'd purchased. I still do buy the occasional deck, but not quite so often. The most recent deck that I bought was the new Theory 11 Superman deck, and I'm looking forward to opening that, and I may share that in a video very soon. In truth, I found collecting the cards quite expensive. The decks can be quite pricey. And then I suppose I started collecting signed items. I was getting posters, other sort of collectible items that were signed, and I came across this book which was playing cards autographed by magicians, and it's by Michael E. Johnson. And this particular book, I just found it so interesting, and there were just so many magicians who'd signed cards that he'd collected, and he was sharing it within his book. It was mainly US magicians, but it gave me the idea that perhaps it would be quite a good thing to collect signed playing cards. Quite quickly, I was actually gathering quite a few signed cards, mainly from magicians in person. Occasionally, I saw some from eBay. I don't tend to do that much anymore, and I only ever bought a few that way. It can be questionable as to how legitimate those cards can be at times, but you have to make a decision for yourself on that one. Most of my cards have been signed in person. It's really important that I look after them, and for anything that I collect magic wise, I always store. I use these vault plastic folders, which allows me to store the playing cards. One way that I actually catalogue the collection is online, and on the Magic Seats collectibles pages you can actually view all of these cards, and it gives you a little bit about the story as well. What I found was when I was storing the cards, it could quickly become quite sort of confusing as to who was who. So with the actual cards themselves all stored on individual pages that house 4 cards, it became quite quickly important that I just put some little stickers on as well with the name of the magician, the artist, if you like, and where it was sourced and the year. Sometimes I've had the month there as well. On this particular first page, these are all from BMC in 2023. There are some cards that are sourced earlier. They're not necessarily all in order. With this video, the intention is just to give you some stories, some of the highlights as I've been collecting. So on this first page, I've got both Peter and Harry Nardi, who are of course owners of Alakazam, the famous magic shop. I've got Gillian O'Connor as well from Ireland, and managed to meet him in the House of Secrets in Blackpool, and Natalia Love as well, who signed a card for me. Signed playing card wise, at the moment I've got about 64 cards, so I'm not going to tell you about every single one of them, but I will show you. Probably in total I've got about 200 signed items now. So starting off with the left hand side of the page, Megan Swan, who of course was the president of the Magic Circle. It was actually quite difficult to get this particular card. I always knew that I wanted to get her to sign a card, and at the time as an apprentice, I'm not a member of the Magic Circle, but I was an apprentice for a while, and when I used to turn up, it was almost a nightmare to get near her. Everyone wanted to speak, so eventually I was able to get it signed at a Magic Circle convention. Jamie Allen, that was when I was buying his book, Everything. Managed to get that signed at BMC. On the right hand side of the page, You've got Joel M and Tom Elderfield. These two chaps, I had a fantastic conversation with them for probably about 5 minutes, really friendly. Joel M was actually at BMC because he was filming, and that was for Blue Peter. And Tom, of course, was known for The Traitors, which was, and still is, a huge reality show here in the UK. And bottom right, one of my favourite shows, which is Hijinks. I was able to get Michael and Tamsin Jordan to sign a card for me, and that was actually at their home, if you like, of where they perform at the Blackpool Tower Circus, and it was such an amazing show. And if you are in Blackpool, definitely go and see that show, and if not, just take a look because they do tour as well. And again, picking out a few of the highlights on the left hand page, we have John Archer. So, John, I've seen him perform a couple of times, and the site has also interviewed him. With John, he was actually performing as part of Extreme Magic. I had actually booked a meet and greet for after the show, but the weather it was just horrendous that night. And I spoke to the theatre, and John kindly met me during the actual interval. I was able to have a brief conversation with him at the time and a selfie, and I managed to get him to sign this card as well. So Russ Brown, of course, that was at his House of Secrets, which is an amazing venue, and they of course have lots of different performers visiting. On the day when I got Russ to sign this card, he was actually performing his own family show, which was good to see. Tom Brace, always followed Tom, and finally I was able to see him perform at BMC in 2023 and managed to get this card signed as well. On the right hand side of the page, Magical Bones, of course, huge interest in him. When I went to see him, he was very popular. He'd just been on BGT. The Fay Presto card on the right hand side was really nice to get. I'd actually attended a Fay Presto lecture, and she was selling her lecture notes at the end, and I was able to get this card signed as well. And Faye, though I don't know her, I've bumped into her a number of times at BMC, so I've been able to get various selfies over the years as well, which is nice to have for my collection. The nice thing about the Faux Presto card as well is the design. She obviously signs a lot of autographs for fans, for other magicians, and if you take a look at the card bottom right, you'll actually see that Faye, she actually has a top hat as part of the design, which is really nice. These next pages are a collection of some of my friends, other magicians that I've worked with in various clubs. Most of these pages here are for magicians who were part of a club that existed a couple of years back, which was called the Leicester Magicians Network. And what's quite nice here is I've stayed in touch with them all. On this next page, a really good one is the Ben Hart autograph. Ben was performing at Leicester Curve. I've seen him perform there a couple of times. Due to his popularity, I personally haven't seen him come out after a show. It may be that he does for some shows, perhaps, at Edinburgh. But for Leicester Curve, most of the audience had left, and there was a few people sort of hanging around hoping to see him leave. And a magician friend of mine, Shay, he was able to give me a little bit of a heads up as to where Ben was likely to appear. And probably about half an hour after the show, Ben did make an appearance. I was able to get the selfie, the signed card. I'd also brought with me Ben's book, which is the Darkest Corners, and I was able to get that signed, and purely by chance, but an extra bonus was the fact that Neil Kelso, who helped Ben write the book, was with him. So I was able to get the two authors of the book to sign that particular Vanishing Ink book of mine. That was a massive highlight. On the right hand side, Elliot Bibby. I followed Elliot's career over sort of like the last 5-6 years. He's lecturing a lot now. He's releasing various products to the market, and Elliot's career is beginning to soar, which, if not already, to be fair, he's just had a massive run in Edinburgh as well. So, yeah, I got that one through the. No, I got this one actually signed in person. That was, even though it says March 2021, I'm pretty sure I got that signed in person at a lecture this year. I had other previous items signed by Elliot earlier. Now, on that same side of the page, there's a couple of examples here of perhaps two cards that I sourced from eBay. I think pretty much everything else that you will see I've sourced in person. And the two that I'm talking about are Betty Davenport and also Kavari. The trouble with buying, of course, off eBay is it's not as fun. You have the memories if you're actually getting cards signed in person. Both of these two particular cards, I think they're genuine. I'd like to think they are. They're both on older cardstock. The Betty Davenport one is actually dated. If you take a look on that right hand page, it's dated by Betty 2002 by the looks of it. And then there's a Kavari one as well. Now, Kavari, of course, does attend various conventions, and hopefully one day I will make sure that I get a playing card signed in person. I do have a poster that is definitely genuine, sourced by Chris Cross, that is signed by Kavari. For the next page on the left hand side, a highlight, of course, was getting Chris Dugdale to sign a card for me. So with Chris, I haven't actually met him in person, and I do hope to see him perform one day. And BMC, if you're listening, please book him. And with Chris, he actually sent me some books to review for this website, and he always writes excellent reading material with essays, theory, and I asked him to actually send a card to me as well, so I know that is genuine. On the right hand side, the bad boy of magic, and no, he's not, Craig Petty. Craig was an absolute delight always. I don't know Craig, I've bumped into him a couple of times, and first of all, I was able to get a selfie with him, and he was at BMC in 2023. He had AirPods on, and I didn't realise he was on a call, so I'd interrupted him, but he was ever so nice, and when I actually spoke to him, was able to get a selfie and then leave him to his call. And then later that same year, I think it was, at the Magic Circle convention, yeah, in 2023, Craig was there, and he just happened to be sat fairly near me in the audience for the gala show. I was able to briefly speak to him and get a signed card. And I always enjoy watching his videos, and yeah, I don't know why some people have an issue with him. Now, Laura London and Dynamo, these are genuine, and these were cards that were signed for charity. So while I didn't get these two signed in person, they actually came as part of a limited edition Midnight's playing card deck that was sold on Kickstarter, and there was one particular edition which was only sold in small numbers of additional signed cards, and there's quite a few different magicians within the actual deck, but the main highlights were Laura London and Dynamo. Hopefully, at some point, I will actually get some cards signed by both of those two in person. The diamond cards on these pages are a good example as well of cards that I've picked. Um, for instance, the Craig Petty, Lee Fuller's one, and then just by chance, Chris and Dynamo and Edwards one diamond anyway. But I tend to like those cards quite often. Anything with lots of white space, always, use a good quality marker and, you know, make sure that you can actually see the signature on the card as well. And these are all good examples. And I'm mentioning this now because on the next page, there's quite a good example where the actual signature really is of a slightly poorer quality, unfortunately. And here's the example now. You'll immediately spot it. This was actually signed and gifted to me. So it's Joe Sankey. I didn't get this myself in person, and it was sourced February 2024. Now, I mentioned about markers earlier. God knows what make or type and colour of marker this is. It really is faint on the bottom right. Most magicians normally use Sharpies, hence you'll see most of my cards are always signed in black, and the Sharpies are always good quality, and most of the time it's a more sort of bold nib that is actually used as well. So we've got Jay's card there as an example. Also got Faye's business card. Yeah, not a playing card, but it's just nice to have because that particular playing card, um, it's quite sort of special, really, and it's just got the little diamond there as well, which is nice. And then we've got Cain and Abel, and the Cain and Abel card, that particular card I was able to get on a cruise ship. I'd always followed both of them, and I'd seen them perform on Zoom shows years ago, so it was a real nice bonus on the cruise ship to actually get to meet Cain and Abel, actually see their show, see a workshop, and yeah, I was able to have a massive long chat with both of them as well, which was really nice. On the left hand side, okay, I'm going to admit it, there is someone there that isn't a magician, and I will admit, a huge fan of the soap opera Neighbours, and I was able to meet Alan Fletcher at a meet and greet last year. He signed the card, hence it's got Alan's signature and Dr. K, because of course he's famous for being the actor who plays Dr. Carl Kennedy. And also on the left, we've got Oliver Table. And Oliver, of course, was the president of the British Ring of the IBM a couple of years ago. And I've seen Oliver perform, and I've been able to sort of have chats with him at different conventions and meetups. And it's nice to have a signed card there from Oliver as well. Then I've got the Pete Furman card there as well. And Pete was on tour doing his Trick Talk tour. With this particular signed card, I'd heard a rumour that he was not going to be meeting the audience for that particular show afterwards. Thankfully, I'd worked with the theatre promoting the show, so I had a contact and they were able to get a letter passed through to the dressing room for me to get the signed card, which was then handed back. So that was nice. For this next set of pages, there's quite a few highlights actually. So, page on the left, Ollie Ward. This was at the IBM. It was at our picnic this year, and Ollie performed at the gala show, and his manipulation was absolutely amazing. And I did get a selfie, but that particular day I'd driven from the Midlands down to Essex, had a long day, and the photo was taken sort of about 6 o'clock. And to be honest, I look absolutely dreadful in it. I look knackered. So hopefully, I might get that photo taken again at some point. And then we've got Philip Partridge, who was the previous IBM president. And Philip's just handed over the reins, if you like, to Aidan Heritage as the new IBM president. Now, on the right hand side, I mentioned the IBM. The IBM convention was absolutely amazing this year, and it did give me opportunities to get some signed cards, some of which are really special and have lots of special memories. So, for me, to get to see Aaron Crow perform was amazing. However, I was actually volunteering during the convention as well as a steward, and I was able to help on the Saturday morning Aaron check in, if you like. I was able to sit down with him as well, have a conversation for about 5 minutes. He signed the card for me, got another selfie. I had met him a couple of years back, so I've got a couple of selfies with him, and such a nice bloke. A real hero of magic for me. And like I say, seeing him at the gala show, it was amazing to see him perform, and it's a memory that I will never forget. Then we've got Olivia Henning's card. Now, Olivia was amazing at the gala show as well, and he's like a master of manipulation. He is just so good. He's only 15, but his maturity and age, the way he comes across when he's performing, he's just so professional. He's going to be absolutely massive as well. And I was able to get selfies, some signed promotional items from him, and this particular signed playing card, this is actually his business card. So they've actually had them specially produced as a business card that looks like a playing card. So you've got the playing card on one side that Olivia's then hand signed, and that's a really nice touch. Also on the same page, Michael Jordan was at the convention, so I was able to talk to him a couple of times. He does feature in the collection already, but I was able to get a card that he's just signed as well, because of course he is a solo performer as well. And then another highlight has to be Richard Cadell and the City. Now, on the day, because I was volunteering, I didn't get to see the City show, which I would have really have liked to have seen. However, after the show, he came out. He was signing loads and loads of items, and you can imagine an audience with children. They all want lots of things signed. Well, I was really lucky because I was given the heads up when the queue was nearly finishing, so I was able to join the queue, and I bought a City and Sweep, which Richard has also signed, and I've got a picture with City and Richard, and of course this playing card. So that's a real special memory, and to have signed City and Sweeps in my collection. Both of the puppets are mounted on card, and then of course the card is signed, and they are both on display in my magic room come office, and I'm really proud of them. Funny enough, I had years and years ago, I'd had an opportunity to have a look around the Magic Circle Museum, and they've got one of the original cities, and I've got a picture with one of the original cities as well in my collection. The very last page in the collection currently, these were all actually gained just recently within the last week. So in rugby, the Masters of Deception show was being performed, and that features, of course, Matrix, Richard Jones, and currently it's guesting Mark Oberon as well. So I was able to actually get signed cards from them. With Richard Jones, I've met Richard loads of times over the years since 2018 after various shows, conventions, had lots of photos, but I actually realised before this particular show that I didn't have a signed card from him. So he signed the card, and I think he regrets not getting other magicians as well to sign cards, because it's a great opportunity to build up a rather unique collection. On that same page, Alexander Jesson from Matrix. Wow, what a performer! And I loved that show so much, and I was going home raving to the family, and we've booked to see a full Matrix show now in November, the reimagined show, and I think it's Rickmansworth. I can't wait to see that. And that particular show that I saw a week ago anyway was amazing, and it was almost, I think, so much better than anything that I'd even seen on YouTube with Matrix, because, of course, seeing it in person is just so much better. And Alex is quite funny as well. So most of the big stage illusions tended for that particular show to be at the beginning, some more again at the end. Alex also performed solo, and yeah, it was an amazing experience. I got to speak to another magician as well, and funny enough, he signed a card for me, Stephen Fowler, and he was in agreement. He'd also had, an absolute fabulous time. Then Mark Oberon, wow, I'd always wanted to see Mark perform as well. So when I found out that he'd guested on one of the earlier shows, um, it was a case of, wow, I hope he's going to be guesting on the show that I'm going to. Thankfully, he was. He was absolutely amazing. No wonder he's been, champion of magic. And thankfully, I've got a lecture booked to go and see him as well. And that's at the Leicester Magic Circle. And that's taking place, I think, early November. So I'm really looking forward to that. So this draws to conclusion, if you like, my collection as it currently stands. I've got quite a few different shows already lined up, and I'm hoping to be able to get more cards. I've got Hudson and Hudson coming up, so I'm hoping to get a signed card from Alan Hudson and Kat Hudson, ideally on the same card. That would be absolutely amazing. Next time I see Matrix as well, I'm hoping that I can get cards from Kelsey and Emily. And then in the new year, I think I've got BMC. Wow, I mean, that's bound to give lots of opportunity. Then I've got Show Pony and Nick Mohammed next year as well, and that could be difficult. It's at I think it's Northampton, Royal and Deangate, I think it's called, Theatre, and that is quite a massive theatre, so that could be quite hard to get. And of course, Nick's also known as who was it? It's Mr. Tickle, isn't it? I think it is. And yeah, just so looking forward to that. So that's the collection. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and who knows, I may do some follow-ups of some of my other collectible items. Thank you for viewing. And in case you noticed, it's not Mr. Tickle. Don't know why I thought of that. It's Mr. Swallow.